welcome to Detroit Table Talk. How are you guys doing?
Good. Glad,
Well,
glad
what
to
up,
be
though?
here.
On me, I'm looking cool,
You looking cool?
as always.
How was you guys' week?
Well, I'm just into enjoying the weekend, man. This is like some good weather we're having.
It's beautiful outside.
It is. It is.
When I say it's beautiful, I got on flip flops
Yeah.
with no,
No
socks.
socks. I was about to say, please mention that, okay?
With no socks.
Mention that.
I mean, I had the windows down, and it was quite nice. I just hope I don't end up at Belle Isle somewhere, taking a tour around.
Okay, it is a nice day
You
for
see
that.
what Detroit doing
Okay,
today.
right.
I know downtown is jumping.
Right. All this sunshine. Make sure you get out into the sunshine and get some of that good vitamin D.
I was just about to say, we need the vitamin D. We've been locked up for 2 years plus.
Okay.
We need that vitamin D.
That's right.
So listen. Today we have a awesome. Today we have an awesome show. That was me. I take responsibility.
It's be like that sometimes.
That was me. Everybody looking around like, who is it? And I'm looking at y'all like, who is it? It's me.
Okay, because I was looking like,
But listen, guys, today we have a show that is dear to my heart. I actually couldn't wait for this episode. Today we'll be talking about autism. We have some guests that I'm going to allow themselves to introduce themselves. To my right, we have Mr. Walter.
Hello, this is Walter Winesberry. I'm the owner of Maximize Autistic Potential. It's a consultation business where we help mentor families that have children with autism using a proprietary protocol that I developed because I have two adult sons with autism.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Walter, for joining us today at Detroit Table Talk. Next, we have...
Your favorite girl boy. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, world. I want to thank you so much for inviting me to the party, Miss Carmen. This is it's gonna be a wonderful party. I'm Girl Boy, one of the hosts of the Midday Vibes each and every Wednesdays at 2 p.m. And I'm one of, you know what I'm saying? I'm a host, everything. So
Thank you for joining the party on today.
Okay,
I
thank you.
so appreciate you. And last but not least, we have the host of Detroit Podcast.
Dro, always happy to be here. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Carmen, Walter, GV.
Okay, then.
This wonderful day.
So listen, we're going to jump right into it because we have a lot of questions. We have a lot of information that we want to cover. I want everyone who's watching and who will potentially watch later on to walk away with some knowledge about autism. As April is Autism Awareness Month, we have to kind of zoom in on that disability. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are on the spectrum, and I think we have more than what's been diagnosed. You have people that are on the spectrum that don't even realize that they're on the spectrum. I was telling my co-host that and girl boy that reading all the symptoms that goes along with autism, I said I'm not sure that I'm not on the spectrum.
Okay, to be honest.
Undiagnosed.
Right.
So Walter, why don't you jump in and give us some information? Well, before you do that, let us play a video because I want people to understand what autism is before we actually get into the conversation.
Okay.
There's nothing like the first day of school. New clothes, new classes, new friends. This year, a kid named Nick came to our school. At first, he seemed a little different. Sometimes during class, Nick makes noises and gets out of his seat. There's a lady that sits in our classroom and follows Nick around, and even takes him out of class when he's distracting us. We didn't understand why Nick got to take breaks or why he got to spend all this time with one teacher. My friends and I thought, what's up with Nick? It turns out, Nick has autism. Nick has had autism since he was little. Autism happens inside the brain. This doesn't mean Nick is sick with something like the flu. You can't catch autism. It just means that he understands some things differently than most of us. Once we learned a little more about Nick and autism, we understood why he gets extra attention. He just needs a little more help than the rest of us sometimes. The lady following him around is his aide. She's there to help him in the classroom. Sometimes small things bother Nick because his senses, hearing, sight, smell, touch, and taste, all work differently than ours. Like when we work on projects, we try to keep our voices down because Nick has trouble focusing if it gets too loud. As we got to know him, we learned what we can do to make it better for Nick so he can stay in class with us. Other kids with autism in your school might have similar challenges. The best way to help them is by getting to know them. Autism affects each person differently. No two kids with autism are the same. Some kids will talk with you, but not look at you. Others won't talk much, but will try to use other ways to tell you what they want to say. Some kids with autism may flap their arms or even rock back and forth. It may seem strange at first, but it's just something that makes them comfortable. Nick really likes building and talking about model airplanes. He even brought one in to show us how the propeller works. It was pretty cool. Sometimes, though, Nick doesn't stop talking about model airplanes. We listen because it's polite, but learn that it's okay to suggest new activities too. Some of us from class joined the art club together, and we invited Nick. He mostly draws pictures of planes, but we still have fun doing the projects together. Remember that you can always include your friend with autism in activities, even if he or she does it in a different way. Don't be afraid to ask your teacher or an adult for ideas that can work for everyone. Now that we know more about autism, it's no big deal. Nick is just a kid and a part of our class like everyone else. So just remember that all of us are different in our own ways. Accepting the differences of kids with autism is the first step to becoming friends and having fun together.
Because it's broken down in its simplicity. And that's something that everybody can understand. This autism became really dear to my heart when I had my first grandson. When he was 2, I used to watch him. And a lot of things that he did, it was repetitive. At first, we would watch him and he would line all his, Hot Wheels along the wall. He would line up shoes and remotes. He would everything was like very detailed with him. You can see him watching everything. And after a while, I had the conversation with my son and his mom, and I told him, I said, I think he's autistic. And they both, as most parents, they go into denial, because not my child, and I, they was like, nah, he's not. I said, okay. I said, but it wouldn't hurt to get him tested. At that time, I was working for Detroit Public Schools, and most of my class assignments was with special ed. So I got to observe a lot of the students and behaviors and, so forth. And after a while, I ended up speaking with the other grandmother, and I recommended that we get him tested. I said, I've noticed this, about him. And she said, Miss Evans, I've noticed the same thing. She said, let's spearhead this. Let's go get him tested. And we did. We got together as grandparents, and we went to, his doctor's appointments and got him tested. And after a while, he was diagnosed with autism, being on a spectrum, social autism. What we noticed was that right after he had his shots when he turned 2, it was maybe about 3 or 4 days after he got his shot, he completely stopped talking. And we didn't understand why. So the next 2 or 3 years was very stressful with trying to figure out a plan for, I call it his healing. A plan for us to all get on one page so that we can help my grandson as much as possible and we all can be consistent. Because one thing I knew about autistic children, consistency was very important. I remember I had one kid that would come into the school autistic. He was non-communicable. He didn't talk at all. And he will only allow me to touch him and to walk with him. Mm-hmm. Every morning, the principal would try to talk to him and stuff like that, and he would start like screaming and putting his hands over his ears and, like a moaning and stuff like that. And one day I just walked up to him and, matter of fact, his name was Christopher. I walked up to him, I said, "Hi, Christopher, how are you?" And he just looked at me and he was kind of rocking back and forth, but he stopped yelling, stopped moaning and hollering. And I said, "Can I have your hand?" And he just reached his hands out and gave it to me. So we just started walking down the hallway. And, I was talking to him at a really calm voice. And it kind of soothed him. His mother almost was in tears. She said he never lets anyone touch him.
Oh, wow.
And every morning, I would meet him at the door and walk him into school so his mom didn't have to walk all the way to the class. Mm-hmm. And it was consistent. Like, he had to have pizza every day for breakfast, French fries. And, contributing that back to my grandson, he had to have French fries every day, And if you broke that, like, "No, grandson, we're going to have this today," he wouldn't eat it. That lasted for about 2 or 3 years. So what the family had to do was we had to put him in a school for children with autism when he was young. So it was mostly for the socialization because he was only like 2, 3. At Grosse Pointe Woods have a school out there for autism school,
What's the name of the school?
I want to say it's Barney,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. So we put him in that. And, the state allows so many hours a week for children that have autism, which is fairly no hours at all. So we had to hire speech therapists and occupational therapists to come to the house to work with him so that he can get extra assistance and he can be by himself so he wasn't distracted with what was going on in the class. Because although Christopher had autism, he was really quiet. Well, he didn't talk, but he would just sit there. There were other students in his class that had autism that would have complete meltdowns. So a lot of them had people assigned to them that would, assist them. Well, make a long story short, after maybe about a year of speech therapy and occupational therapy, we were able to get Chris to start using, one word. So like if he was hungry, he would just say eat. If he was thirsty, he would just say juice. So what one of the doctors told us is, try to encourage him to use his words. So when he would say juice, we would say, "You need to say, 'May I have some juice?'" And after a while, he would get frustrated, and be like, "May I have some juice?"
Right.
Stop asking me.
He'd be angry.
Yeah, he'd get frustrated with us. But we didn't care, as long as he, was putting his words together. So we ended up putting him with some play dates, to force him to kind of communicate with other students. Most children who have autism love the tablet and the iPad, and they kind of go into solitude with themselves. They're fine being by themselves, not. I don't know if it's not feeling comfortable, not really gelling with other students or other kids, and mainly too because of the noise. Most of them
I was just about to ask, why is that?
Very sensitive to noise. It's part of the autism. It's part of the spectrum. So Christopher, we got him past that, and I can say today he communicates his wants and his needs. He's at the top of his class. And like the video that we just presented, I didn't even pay attention to the one part, the young man who liked airplanes. Mm-hmm. So my grandson, he's really into trains, flags, and ships, and you hear about it all the time, so although he's at the top of his class, they have mainstreamed him, so he's with the regular class and he's actually top of his class even in the regular class. So
Oh,
thank
that's
God
good.
for that.
Right.
But one thing that, as you know, a grandparent and the parents, we all made a decision that we didn't want Christopher to have a label on him. So what we did was we told the teachers and anyone who, we didn't tell too many people because we wanted everybody speaking the same thing over Christopher.
Right, right.
His life. But one of the things we did tell the teacher was allowed him to operate like any other child, you know, so don't limit him based on his, you know, his disability, you know, make him function like he was in a regular class, and don't, you know, speak, oh, he's autistic, you know, he has autism. So that was something that
That's okay.
we were really strong about, you know, myself and his other grandparents, because we were believing God that this was something that he would grow out of, or he would be able to become high functioning, you know. And I do believe that God played, and us praying over him played a big role in him being functional now. And then we also changed his diet. So a lot of the sugars and stuff like that we took out of his diet, more like gluten-free. Now he will act the food, you know.
I was just about to say, why is that? Is it because it's like sugary and he's like, it's gonna like make him act out like if he was on Ritalin or something?
Well, we didn't put him on any medication.
Okay.
But sugar breaks down in your body. So whether you're autistic or not, you're not supposed to be eating sugar. I know Walter is going to explain it more because he knows the dynamic of the the neurologist part of the brain, and you know how it attacks. But that's why it was so important for me to do a show on autism in Autistic Awareness Month. So, Mr. Walter.
So many things. It's hard to know
No.
where to start. So I'll go all the way back to the video. And I didn't see anything wrong that the video presented. So the video kind of breaks down what autism is.
Yes.
But you'll notice that the video doesn't talk at all about what possibly could have caused the autism.
I was just about to
Yes.
ask that next.
And they also don't talk about, okay, now that you have this diagnosis, what do you do about it?
Yes.
So what they're presenting a picture like this is what autism is. And by the way, because it's a spectrum, it may look different in every child.
For each child. That's
You
correct.
know what I'm saying? So what you're describing as your grandson may not look like another person with autism may have a different set of symptoms.
That's correct.
Or the symptoms may be more
Severe.
or less severe. You know?
I was just about to say, so what if your child with autism in the beginning stage, they talk and they have enough motor skills to, you know what I'm saying, be as if they wasn't like autistic. So how would you know to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go get my grandchild, or I'm gonna go get my daughter a test?
Some of the signs of autism in young children, that's what kind of we wanted to, kind of focus this conversation around, is not responding when you call their name. That's a big, sign, a red flag. Avoiding eye contact. Most autistic children won't look you in the eye.
I to this day, I can't look nobody in the eye. Do I get autism? Sorry, I'm sorry. I know. This is serious. This serious, but I'm just.
No, you can.
But I'm just saying.
Not smiling when you smile at them. Most children that I know of that have autism, for some reason, don't smile. Not that they don't ever smile, but it's very rare that you see them smiling. Getting very upset if they do not like a certain taste, smell, or sound. And we just said that their sensory is very heightened. Mm-hmm. So regular music can have a child with autism to have a meltdown. An extreme meltdown. If you've never seen an autistic child have a meltdown, it's definitely something that can be exhausting, especially if your child has meltdowns all the time. Repetitive movements, such as flapping their hands, flickering their fingers, or rocking their bodies. You see them a lot rocking.
Okay.
I feel bad because I'm rocking right now.
I know, and I was just about to say, because I rock a lot too. Like, I do a lot of movement too. I don't know. Lou, you ain't get me tested. Sorry.
No, I think the if I could, Carmen,
Yes, go ahead.
the major things that they look at are the big three when it comes to autism. It's language, behavior, and socialization.
Yes.
Now, language could mean no language at all, or some language, or limited language. Okay, so there's a certain percentage of children with autism, or people with autism, that will never speak.
Yes.
So 30% of children or people with autism may never acquire functional language. Okay, so that's what they mean by language. It could be limited, it could be none, it could be one or two words. By behavior, it could mean a lot of things: aggression, repetitive behavior, sensory issues, those types of things. But and then socialization, most of the children have issues socializing. Like you said, they may feel comfortable being by themselves. I have a hard time getting either one of my sons out of the house or do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they cool just in the room, on their computer, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So those are the major three, but there could be others as well, like cognitive issues. Some of them have issues. They may have low IQ, not all of them. They may have low IQ, average IQ, or even high IQ.
Yes.
But that's why it's a spectrum. They could have bedwetting issues. There could be a lot of different memory issues, a lot of different things that are going on that they present as symptoms. And then the other thing that you said before, and I've said this before, when you say my son is autistic, to me that's like saying it's like saying that I'm black or I'm white. That's a definite thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't describe my sons as. I try not to, because we all do this. Don't we say we're saying he's autistic. To me, it's not that written in stone. You know what I mean? So when you part of the awareness campaign, by the way, like the video that we saw, or what we're doing is called awareness. That is awareness for families that are not necessarily affected by autism. Because if you have a family member with autism, the last thing you need is awareness. You know what's going on.
Right.
Absolutely.
So when your baby is not talking and he's 3 or something like that, you don't need awareness. You know something's wrong.
Going on, right.
You may not have a name for it, So that awareness campaign is really for people that don't have loved ones with autism, and they want to know how to navigate or how to be around those people with autism. Okay, I like to believe that what I do with my business is not about autism awareness, but about autism empowerment.
Yes.
So it's about empowering families to use nutrition to reduce the severity of the symptoms. So just very quickly, my son, when he was 3, actually before he was 3, like you said, he had some kind of language. We took him to get vaccinated. At 18 months, he lost all his language. So from the next 18 months, between 18 months and 3.5 years old, he had no language at all.
Now, let me ask you a question before you go on, because I'm baffled by that, because I've heard numerous parents say the same thing. But we know that doctors have not contributed vaccinations with
That's not true. Okay, so
autism.
No, that's not true. So when you say doctors, that's a wide field. So some doctors feel
some
doctors feel some way about it, and some doctors feel another way about it. So if you don't know, there was a doctor. I'm trying to get his name right. I think it's William Thompson or William somebody like that worked at the CDC, and he came out with information about vaccines, saying that for African American boys, they have an increased chance of getting autism if they receive the MMR vaccine at 18 months. And it was like a 200 or 300% increased chance of them getting autism. So, and that was like in the year 2000, almost 20 years ago, So to say that doctors don't associate autism with vaccines is not necessarily true, because we have that information about what the guy at the CDC said about the vaccine, particularly the MMR vaccine. And
I know there was a study that came out. I can't remember the doctor name, but they said about 1 in 6, which is 17% of children ages 3 to 17, were diagnosed with autism after receiving vaccination shots.
I'm not familiar with that one, but I'll
just
take your word
wish
for it. But there's some association with either not necessarily every vaccine, but particular vaccines and autism.
Is it the ones with the mercury in it?
No, because the MMR doesn't have mercury in it.
Okay.
Okay, so that isn't the issue, but something has occurred after that. Our personal experience, and many people have the same personal experience, that the child was talking, we took him to get vaccinated, particularly the MMR, not any vaccine, but we took him to get the MMR vaccine, and now he's not talking. So that was our experience, and I hear that quite a bit from many of my clients. They all have the same story. They were talking, they got this particular vaccine, now they're not. So that's what I meant by the video not saying what could have possibly. They don't go into that at all. Okay, but as a community, as black people, we got enough issues going on with us, just navigating in this society, and having having black males with autism makes their life chances that much more difficult.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not just about what happened. Okay, but we need to identify that. We need to know what happened, and you can be, because some people believe that autism is just a genetic condition. It's something they were born this way, and this is just how they are. You know what I mean? So some people have that belief. So you have to decide as a parent, if you have a child with autism or a loved one with autism, what is your perception of how this thing came to be? Do you believe that, is it like Down syndrome? My baby just got his genes, something wrong with his genes, and this is just the way he is? Or is it a product of the environment? Something happened. They gave my baby a vaccine. He was talking, they gave him a vaccine, now he's not talking. So you have to make that determination as a parent, because that determination determines what you're going to do next.
Yes.
So if you believe it's just genetic, then there's a school of thought saying, hey, I can just, let's just do speech therapy and occupational therapy and ABA therapy. Maybe we can give him all these therapies, and then, then hopefully he'll be the best he can be. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I believe in all therapy. Any therapy for autism is anything that works, that's been proven to make my child work better, I'm for it. But my background is, my degree is in biology.
Okay.
So I've been studying this for over 10 years. Actually, this is our 16th year studying the condition from a biological perspective. In other words, what's happening inside the body of my children? Why is their biological processes somehow different than those that don't have autism? And the science says there are so many biological differences in children with autism, and also not only are there differences, but that you can target those differences with nutrition and detox. So that's something what we were getting into on the phone. So if you target those differences, then in our experience, many of the children get better. So my son went from non-verbal to completely verbal, from special ed to regular education. He went through all regular education, graduated from regular education high school with a diploma, not a certificate. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So nutrition makes anybody healthy, whether you have autism or cancer or diabetes or whatever it is. If you're able to get good things into your body and keep bad things out of your body, then you tend to live a healthier life. And
now, when you say bad things, give us some examples of what you're speaking of.
Bad things, and there are so many bad things in general, because I think we need to understand as a society, particularly black people in this society, that businesses are not regulated the way they should be. So they put out a lot of poisons into the environment. You know what I mean? So our air, water, and food have all been poisoned. Okay, so that's why there's been a rise in, and if you name a disease, the numbers are going up.
Yeah.
Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, whatever it is going up.
Especially in the urban community.
Right, and we're all exposed to the same things. Sometimes in urban environments, we may have a higher exposure because they may have toxic waste places nearer to us than the people in the suburbs.
Yep.
Okay, that may be true. So, I'm gonna name. Well, you did mention sugar, of course. Now, sugar, MSG, artificial colors, artificial dyes. There are things in the air. I know there's a particular gasoline additive that has made its way into our water. So we're being poisoned. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
So, and that's everybody.
And that's why we were saying earlier that when we look at the list of, awareness signs to autism, a lot of us can fall into, into those categories.
But
I want to be
undiagnosed.
no,
that's what I was trying to say.
No. Let's be very clear about this. What's happening in the body of a child with autism is not the same. Our bodies are not functioning the way the body of a child with autism is functioning. Now, what I said is that we're all being exposed to the poison, but it's a matter of when and to what degree.
Yeah.
So that when we were younger, we were not exposed to as much poison, so our development was not hindered as much as theirs.
Okay.
They are coming out of the womb exposed with a lot of toxins, and then they're being injected, and they get. I don't know about your grandson. My son got the hepatitis B vaccine on the first day he was here, on the first day of life. That's routinely. They do that to everybody.
So that's what I was going to ask you, that with my second grandson that was born, we opted to not get him vaccinated until a certain point of his life. And I thank God that we had a African-American male doctor who was in support of our decision. Because we do. Once they come out of the womb, they're injected immediately. And almost every couple of 2 weeks after that, they're injected.
I don't know the schedule.
It's 2 weeks, and then they go back.
I know it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. If you look at the vaccine schedule for when I was a child or something like that, it might have been 12 to 20 vaccines by the time you got to 20 years old. Now they inject the children with over 72 vaccines by the time they're 18. So it's an incredible amount. So I'm not saying that we're not affected, but our bodies are not the same as theirs. Their bodies have major things going on: inflammation, oxidative stress, all the way down to the mitochondria is affected. That's the energy, the organelle that produces energy in every cell in your body. And they know that those children don't produce enough energies to run their bodies correctly. That's every cell is affected in their body. You understand what I'm saying?
all right, I got a quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, the signs of autism, early autism, you said the no hearing, the speech impairment, and things of that nature. It's so many other behavior problems, or it's other diseases that's out here other than autism. Why would that be the first thing that you say, you know what, I think my child had autism? Why wouldn't you go for, I think my child is going deaf at an early age? I think that my child can't see. You know what I'm saying? Why would you?
To be clear, it's not that they can't hear. What Carmen says, if you call their child's name and they don't answer, that's not the same as they not hearing, because many people take their children when they see that I'm calling their name and they're not answering. That's what they think.
Right.
Let's go get them. So they go get their hearing tested, and nothing's wrong with their hearing. So children with autism can hear perfectly, and that's not why they're not turning, because it's because they are consciously somewhere else, and
Yes.
they're thinking about something else. They're not as present as people that don't have autism. So Your question is, why do you say autism? Well, as I said, you look at those major three things: language, behavior, socialization, and that doesn't mean that they have autism. Even if they have all of those things, they can have ADHD.
I was just about to say that, and you can put them on Ritalin. But what's the difference between being ADHD and having autism, and autism is somewhat of a behavior problem? Because I know a few kids that have behavior problems. They can speak, they can do all of that. They just have behavior problems, and people just be like, "Oh, don't worry about it. They got autism," and just, you know what I'm saying, kick it to the side. Like, it's just me and you. Like, yeah, he drunk. Don't worry about it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So no, what you're saying is that, and this is not just parents or adults who have that belief. This is also physicians. So many times, if you take your child with autism to the doctor, and he might have gastrointestinal issues, he may not, he might be constipated or something like that. They'll just chalk it up to autism. Oh, he got autism. There's nothing we can do about it. So that's what I said early on. You have to determine, as a parent, what it is that you believe about autism. You can believe that this is something that's genetic and that there's nothing that can be done, and then you won't do anything.
That's correct. Yep.
Now you may do behavior and speech and occupational therapies, but in my mind, because autism, when I see autism as a biological condition, there's something different about their biology. If you address that, then you're addressing the foundation. So at that point, all those other therapies begin to work a lot better.
I know
I was about to say.
When my grandson was, we first was getting him, lined up to get tested. That was one of the things that the doctor did initially. What you said, how do you know he wasn't going deaf? They run a series of tests, and what it is almost like a process of elimination. So actually, that was one of his first tests. They sent him to get his ears checked to see if it was, his hearing. They did so much blood work and, different things that, it's sad to see that a child has to go through all
them
this.
tests, right?
But you have to do it so that you can know how to take care.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, is it like it's like blood work? You have to take blood and all that to see.
There are no blood tests that determine autism at this point.
Right. So that's
crazy.
crazy.
I don't know if you ever had like a psychological test done, and you sit in a room with a psychologist.
Is that something like a stress test?
No.
No. Oh.
So it's they ask a million questions. They watch them. They did so many things. They had these little, we call them games. What is the name of do you remember the name of the test that the children?
No, I know what you're talking about, but no.
But it's extensive. But it's like I said, it's a process of elimination, and once you get the information as a parent or a grandparent, you have to come up with a plan, because like I said in the beginning, the educational system only affords you certain things while they're in school. So you have to do your own research pretty much, because depending on the doctor that you go to, you may not be getting all the information that you need to make an informed decision on how to take care of your child. So, you do a lot of reading, a lot of research.
And to be honest,
is it genetic?
No.
It's no. So
no. Wait.
I was just about to say that.
No, because and you can ask that to probably 100 different people and get 100 different answers. Because some people believe it's definitely genetic.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Some people believe that not only is it genetic, but it happened inside the womb, before the child even got here.
Right.
So yeah, some people believe it's genetic, some people don't. That's why it's up to you as a parent or a loved one of a child with autism to do your own research. I don't believe it's genetic, and I'll give you one quick example as to why I don't. In 1970s, the incidence rate for autism was 1 in 10,000. So as a child, I didn't know anybody
You didn't
with
really
autism.
know too many people with
I was gonna
autism.
say in the 80s, it's a lot.
No, not the 80s. It was the 90s. That's when it started to the numbers started to increase. So now the incident rate in America is like 1 in 54.
I was about to say there's a lot of people my age with autism.
What's your age?
I'm 35.
Yeah, the 90s.
Yeah.
So you
Like,
were born
I
like
was-
late
yeah,
80s.
80s, yeah.
Late 80s. Okay. So, but no, it's because I think it's because they did something different with the vaccines in the 1990s. You know, they started using what's called human fetal tissue. You know what that is? That means when they take an aborted fetus, they'll take some of that tissue from an aborted fetus and make it part of their vaccine.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Which is what
So
they
they-
doing now with the vaccine.
Right. So they're putting dead parts of babies into us. You know what I'm doing? And that's a part of our vaccine. Okay. And the problem is some of those tissues may be infected with whatever type of, I don't know, some people think they're retroviruses, whatever. They may be infected with something, and they integrate with your cells. So you can't. They become a part of you. You know.
Right.
So, and they didn't always use aborted fetal tissue in vaccines.
So
So
let
the
me-
vaccines that we got, or people got before 1990s, is different than the ones that they have now.
So when you talk about autism and children that have been diagnosed and children that are expected to be on the spectrum, we see children that have meltdowns. What are some of the things that parents can do to alleviate those meltdowns?
Well, like it all depends on why you think the child is melting down. So some people would probably say there are some behavior therapies that you can use to help calm the child, maybe some sensory things that they could do. My son used to have meltdowns at some point. We never did behavior therapy at all. Never did it. Never
never
did
did
any
behavior
sensory.
therapy.
Never did any of that stuff. Not to say there's anything wrong with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I saw something else that was going on. So, and we began to use targeted nutrition to deal with specific bacteria that I believe to be causing the behavior. So the stuff like bacteria like Clostridia, strep, H. pylori, all of those things are common in the guts of children with autism. So
Did you give your children probiotics as well?
yeah, and I know you mentioned probiotics with your grandson. So that's actually the way I got started on this journey was my son was 3.5 and nonverbal, and I think I was dealing with something where my hands and stuff felt like they were on fire, and I kept going to the doctor, and they kept telling me it was stress. And at the time I was self-employed. I know I didn't have that much stress. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I was like, that can't be it. So I did some more reading, and I found a condition called candida. You know, and candida is just yeast. A lot of women have yeast infection. Okay? So I had excess yeast. It can happen with males and females, but I had too much yeast in my body.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it happens with males and females.
Yeah.
Because candida is a natural part of everyone's biology. Everyone has candida, okay? And it does things that are good for the body as well as bad for the body, depends on how much is in your body, you know. So when you eat a lot of sugary foods, you tend to feed the candida, and then it can grow out of hand, and it can actually drill holes into the linings of your intestines, come out of your intestines and get into all parts of your body, including your brain.
Oh, wow.
So this happens a lot for
So would that be like a leaky gut or something?
Well, yeah, that's what they describe as a leaky gut. That means that things are leaking out of the gut.
Okay.
Because you intake too much sugar.
That's one possible reason for a leaky gut. There could be other ones, like if you have like an H. pylori infection. You know what H. pylori is?
No.
It's a bacteria that's common. It used to kill a lot of people. People used to die from H. pylori. Of course, the doctor said that they described it as people under stress, and we don't know what it is. So what I find is a lot of times when doctors don't know what it is, they just assume it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Or they assume something wrong with you. That's what they do. So you crazy.
They make it psychological.
You crazy
Yep.
because they don't know how to figure out what the hell went wrong with you.
Right.
So a lot of people have candida in this country because a lot of people eat sugar.
Oh, yeah, I need to Google that.
Yeah, you should Google it. I'm one of them. I just had a large orange soda from McDonald's myself, so it's not like I'm exempt, even if I know what's going on. So I was eating a lot of sugar. I had this bad candida problem. I took a specialized probiotic from Japan that was supposed to digest the candida. I said, let me give some to my son because when you look up, if you look up autism and candida, they connected.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I gave some to my son. He looked up at his mama. He was nonverbal and said pretty earring. He hadn't talked in over 18 months. That was the first
Man,
thing
that's
he
awesome.
said.
Oh wow.
So,
Right.
and
Look at God.
And that's what exactly. And that's what started. He's 19. That was 14 years ago.
Oh wow.
So how old are your children and how they're doing now?
Dakari is the one that we talk about as being autistic, having autism. I just said that. Don't say autistic. So he's having autism. He's 19 now. He graduated from high school last year. My older son will be 30 this year. He has Asperger's, which is a different type of, classified as a different type of autism, or just a different place on the spectrum. He's more high functioning. So my older son never had issues with language or behavior, just had social issues. My son had all three, language, behavior, and socialization. My daughter, who never got a classification of autism, but has issues with anxiety. So she could be classified as what they call sensory processing disorder.
So if that's the case, how you saying it then? We all got some type of autism then, right?
No.
But like
No.
different kinds, but not as severe, right?
I've heard people say that a large number of us is somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah, don't believe
And I'm
the hype.
like, wow.
That's hype. I mean, that's throwing you off the trail of what's really going on.
Yeah.
So if you believe that all people are somehow on the spectrum, that means that the child who is actually on the spectrum is just like everybody else.
They are, though, I thought.
I think
No, they aren't.
they're different, but
Now keep in mind that people have a hard time with this because we're not saying that because you have a biological issue does not mean that you're unworthy. And
True.
Some people
Right.
lose that. I'm not saying that the children are unworthy. I love my babies. They're definitely worthy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But by identifying the issue and addressing it, now my children are able to function more like everybody else. So I'm just saying, don't get it twisted. You know, if you have cancer, that don't mean you unworthy, but you still gonna treat the cancer.
I would say everybody have a little cancer inside of them.
I wish that
But
as we're learning.
But wait a minute. Everybody does have a little cancer inside, but we have everyone has defense systems against the cancer. Now, when your defense systems break down, that's when the cancer gets out of control. Okay, so to me, it's not a question of being worthy. You should love the children with autism should be loved just like everybody else.
Yes.
However,
True.
if you recognize what is going on in their body and address that, then they will also not only be as worthy as love, but they as worthy of love as everyone else. They'll function more like everybody else, Because as a parent of a child with autism, our thing is we can't be here forever.
Yeah.
So when I'm not here to protect my babies,
Absolutely.
I want to make sure that they can protect themselves as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And that has to do with recognizing that the whole entire system is toxic. Okay? And not just toxic to them, toxic to everybody. Because
And I think that's why we need to make sure we take the negative connotation off of, this, autism, because they deserve a chance to heal, progress, or to become their better selves.
Yeah, I agree. So, but that's why I was saying there's a distinction between autism awareness and autism empowerment. So, autism awareness is for people that don't have loved ones affected by autism, and they don't. Our children don't deserve to be bullied.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Children with autism don't deserve to be ostracized or
That's right.
left alone and to not be talked to. One of the most painful things I've ever seen for me is I've seen my child, Dakari, on a playground full of children and him alone by himself.
That's
The ones I know is protective. The ones I know go, protect you more so of you protecting them. The ones I know.
That's when I realized that for me, I had to learn something about, the spectrum, and I had to be a part of my grandson's healing. We were on a playground, and my grandson was sitting next to me, like really close. And of course, some kids don't know until they know. And I thank God for this one little boy. He ran up and he said, "You want to play?" And my grandson just looked at him. Then he looked up at me, and I said, "Go ahead, buddy."
Right.
You know. So it wasn't before he pulled my finger like, "You coming with me?" And the little boy took off running, and Christopher was just looking at me, unsure, and didn't have the confidence. So I'm like, "Come on, buddy, let's go play." And the little boy was just running, but he kept turning around
To see if he was coming, yeah.
and saying, "Come on, come on." And I was right there, walking along the side of the thing, and it gave him confidence. And after a while, I would look at his face, and you could see a little smile. That pretty much almost broke me down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was like, man, we have to teach, especially children, how to include children with autism into activities. So that made me, and I want to kind of, let the cat out the bag. Today, I'm releasing a children's book I wrote on autism.
You better get it, girl.
It's called Let's Be Friends.
Okay, then.
And it talks about how the children want to be included in activities. And, they just need a little extra assistance. But we have to teach their peers how to respond and, to children that are different than, who they are. So I'm excited about it. And with the illustration, thank you. With the illustration, I put my grandson and his younger cousin in it because they called each other best friends.
That's cool.
And I'm thankful because Christopher now he talks.
Talks your ear off, huh?
And he loves to FaceTime, but now he has learned all the flags of the United States and different countries. He knows the colors, and he's constantly talking, and it's like, "Okay, buddy."
That's
or he'll
cool.
draw a flag and won't tell you what it is, and he'll put it up and say, "What flag is this?" And and now you feel like, "Oh shoot, now I got to learn some stuff because I don't know." I'd be like, "Man, I don't know."
Yeah.
He'd be like, "That's Peru," and he'd say some words, and I'd be like, "I didn't even know that was a country," but praise God.
Okay, go God do it.
So I'm excited that, he's coming into himself, and he got his little cousin right along with him that keep him talking, "Come on, Chris, you want to play? You want to FaceTime me?" I remember our doctor telling us about my grandson. Watch him. Don't let him be by himself on an iPad too long because they get lost in their own mind.
Mm-hmm.
So when you call their name and they don't hear you, that's because they've gone inside of themselves. So we're just encouraged with him. He's high functioning. We thank God for it. As we close, we want to thank Mr. Walter Wineberry for coming out and speaking with us. This conversation can go on for hours because there's so much to the spectrum that we have to learn. Like he said, with the awareness, that's for people who don't have family members that have autism or people that need, at least for me, need basic information, awareness of how to respond to children with autism, how to approach them, and what you can do respectfully, and what you can do for the parents too to help them, because it's strenuous on parents that have children with autism because it's draining too. You're constantly trying to figure out what's needed for your child. So starting from Dro, let's tell everybody where they can find you and give your last comments. 5 seconds.
This Dro, you can find me at I don't even remember my I think Facebook is
Pull up here, you'll
Rich.
find.
Ricky Rick
Rick.
on Facebook, and on Instagram you can check me out on the Best at It. That's THA_BESTADDIT.
Girl, boy, what about you?
Okay, then. If you looking for me, baby, you can find me. I'm Girl Boy everywhere. Please don't put no space, no underscore. It's only one word, no slash, none of that. Just Girl Boy Peasy. That's PEEZYY. Each and every Wednesdays at 2 p.m. on the Midday Vibes with my co-host Ebony K. and we make sugar crazy. And then you could catch me every now and then on the Detroit Table Talk every now and then.
No.
I want to thank you so much for bringing me on today, and this was very enlightening. Even though I don't treat no one no different, and a lot of people they ask me like, how do you talk to them? Like it could be like somebody special. Like you can't differentiate if they have autism or what kind of special behavior they have. I just talk to them. I'm sorry. Let me hurry up though.
Okay, I'm Walter Winesberry. It's Maximize Autistic Potential. Phone number 313-528-9240. Or you can reach me on Facebook or YouTube, Maximize Autistic Potential, or DeCurry's Protocol. Last thing I want to say about autism is that autism is a changeable condition, and you can use nutrition and detox to reduce the severity of symptoms for your children.
And as usual, you can find me on Detroit Table Talk, myself and Dro. You can find us on Detroit Table Talk. And with that, let's go out. Can you pull that picture up for me? I want to appreciate everyone who came out today for Detroit Table Talk. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for contributing to the conversation, for helping us become a little bit more aware of what autism is, and if you suspect it in your child, what you can do to get the help that you need. Again, you can find Mr. Walter and Carmencita, which is his wife, at 313-528-9240.
That's right.
And we're out.
Okay then. Hello world.
I like your voice, Will.